This will be a two-story building. The first floor will have 6 classrooms and restrooms for up to 200 students, and the second floor will have 2 more classrooms and office space. This will enable us to go all the way up to middle school, which is 9th grade, 10th grade in Ecuador. With this building, we can work and have our approval from the government. I know that it's a big project, but every year we have had big projects ahead of us. In just 4 years, we have been able to build a home, a multi-purpose building, 4 classrooms, 2 cabins, and a basketball court. But every year God has just inspired people to come alongside of us and help us fulfill our next need. When I think about this building, I don't think about the building. I think about the kids, the children that are going to be in the building. Think about the hundreds of students that are going to come through that structure in the next year, 5 years, 10, 20 years. These children will receive the gospel and they will take it to their home, to the family, to the community in ways that us missionaries are limited to do. Recently we added a staff member, a pastor to our staff. They are from Cuba, Juliet and Ainuris. They're expecting a baby, and not too many days from now they'll have a baby boy that they will call Samuel. One of the things that I'm really encouraged about this couple is their passion to plant the word in the hearts of the people in this community. They have done a phenomenal job just going in homes and visiting homes and using the school as a platform to connect with the families. In just a couple of weeks, they've been able to set up Bible studies, build relationships in the community, and start a Sunday service that is having 15 to 20 people for now, which for Misawaji, that's a big deal. Now the other day, the reason I tell you about them is because I love their passion, and I love what he said the other day. He was being interviewed by a short-term mission team, and one of the questions that they asked him, they asked a simple question. Why are you here? Why? I mean, you could be in Cuba, you could be with your family, but why are you here? And he looked up and he simply said, guys, once I understood what Christ did for me, this is the least I can do. To live for Him and to serve Him and to spread the gospel is the least that I can do. And I love that simplicity. Similarly, I was going through a rough time not too long ago. As a missionary, I was struggling. As a director, I had to deal with, during the first couple of weeks of school, we have to deal with transportation, parents, meetings, new employees, government requirements, just schedules and all of that. In addition, I was seeing how my daughters, after being during their summertime in the US, they were struggling with the idea of why do we have to be away from family, away from grandparents and cousins. My wife at that time was struggling because she was not going to be able to continue on with school and graduate with her master's degree. And as a missionary, I felt overwhelmed seeing how much the staff was needing from us, and the parents wanting more, and the students requiring more, and the government asking for more. I was overwhelmed. But it was during that time that a short-term missionary team member came up to me. He said, I'm doing a Bible study on Isaiah, and I would like to share with you what I read this morning. And he gave me a little note, and I read it, and it was perfect for that moment. And I would like to share it with you. And he said the following: do not be discouraged by the fact that many of your prayers have not yet been answered. Time is a trainer, teaching you to wait upon Him, to trust Him in the dark. The more extreme the circumstances, the more likely you are to see His power. The more His power and glory at work in the situation. Instead of letting difficulties draw you into worrying, try to view them as setting the scene for his glorious intervention. I love that part. End of quote. You know, the greater the need, the greater the intervention. The greater the joy will be. The greater the need, the greater the joy. And that's exactly what happened with my soul. You see, when I naturally, Charmaine and I, when we started bringing kids into our home from dysfunctional families, we had some guidelines that we were following. We said, no child should be younger than 5, and no one should be older than 9. And as soon as we met Marisol, we knew that she was 12 years old, and my first reaction in my flesh, and mentally speaking, I said, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. And I was about to walk away. And when I was about to walk away, I turned around and I saw Marisol and her oldest sister crying. And almost upset, I sat down and I said, okay, tell me your story. When I started hearing the story, slowly it started just opening. And God started opening my heart and my mind and just saying, imagine if that was your daughter sitting right there. Imagine if something happened to you and to your wife and your children, your 2 daughters were left abandoned, cast away like dust, being blown from one home to the other, abused. Imagine if that was your daughter. What would you expect your brother in Christ to do, your brother or sister in Christ to do, your neighbor to do? I would expect somebody to do something. And that's exactly what I felt. And even though we were afraid of what we were doing, we brought her by faith. We brought her into our home. And I remember to this day what I told my wife, and I always repeat it. I called my wife over the phone and I said, look, Charmaine, there's this 12-year-old girl. She has piercings all over her ears. She has a big scar because she was in a car accident. She's 12 years old, but she looks like she's 15, and she looks like trouble. And my wife replied and she said, I know what you're going to do, so go ahead and do it. Next thing I knew, I was just driving back to Quito to meet my wife. And in fact, she seemed like she was troubled. And here is why.